Welcome to the Organizedpreneur Podcast, where we dive deep into the art of launching and streamlining your podcast and business for growth. I'm your host, Aldreama Harper. With more than 2 decades of experience in the organizing space, transforming chaos into order and launching 3 podcasts, I decided to combine those experiences to share my insider tips and proven strategies so that you can avoid the pitfalls I've had to overcome. So, whether you're just starting out or looking to enhance your existing endeavors, you'll get the knowledge, the tools, and the strategies to work more efficiently when launching your business or your podcast. You ready? Let's go. All right, welcome to another episode of the Organizedpreneur Podcast. I am your host, Aldreama Harper. I am a podcast launch strategist and online business systems specialist. This is where I assist female podcasters to navigate the complexities of launching and growing podcasts. And as an online business system specialist, I help my clients in streamlining their digital operations, implementing efficient workflows, and leveraging tools to enhance productivity and scalability for their online business. Again, welcome to another episode where we're going to be talking about some actionable insights and practical tools that you can apply immediately to launch and grow a successful podcast. And the steps that we'll be going through are essential. They're essential to helping you to build a foundation and building blocks and to prepare for a more successful podcast, as well as things that you'll be able to apply immediately to your podcast as well as your business. Okay. And so the thing that I always say on every episode is that you should be taking notes, but more importantly, you need to take action. Mainly because podcasting is not just about creating content. I know that that is the most important thing, but it's not the only thing. It really is about positioning yourself in a competitive podcasting market or business market. And so today I want to start with something that I read. It's a newsletter that I actually get from the Scrappy Podcast, Jeremy Inns. I love this newsletter. And so I always look forward to reading Jeremy's newsletters. One of the things that he said, and this is like the second part of a quote, but it really stuck with me, okay? And so he said, our job as a podcast creator is to find ways to capture people's attention elsewhere and then direct them back to our shows. And I just love that because that's exactly how I feel. A lot of people are looking for ways to launch their podcast and supplement or use that medium as a way to get people to your business or to your offer or whatever you're striving to do, whatever your objective or goal is in the podcast. And so, but there's so many ways. There's so many ways. And so I've been, as a matter of fact, I've been a part of a mastermind community for the past year, and I've learned so many insightful things in terms of how to grow my podcast. And I will say this though, some of the things that I learned was not, and it's not that they didn't or wouldn't work. It was that it was more that it wasn't something that I actually wanted to do. Okay. Like I don't really like to write a lot of blogs and articles and things like that. That's really not my jam. Right. And so even though it's something that works, for some people, but not everyone, right? And so that is why this really connected with me, uh, as far as this, quote. you you have to find ways, plural, ways to capture people's attention elsewhere and then direct them back to your shows. So there's more than one way to do it. And so that is why today we're going to be talking about, that's all an intro. Today I'm going to be talking about proven strategies to drive traffic to your podcast and capture attention and grow your audience. Okay. And so what we're going to be talking about today, we're going to just dive into some very powerful strategies. Some I've tried, some I will suggest to you and recommend to you because they may work for you and not necessarily for me, but they work for other people. And so today we're going to dive into powerful strategies that will help you to capture attention across various platforms and direct them back to your podcast. Okay. Um, and so I want you to just lean in and engage because we're going to be talking about how to strategically engage your target audience, convert interest into loyal listeners, and ultimately drive consistent traffic to your podcast. So this is a very, very powerful um, episode and one that I absolutely love to talk about. All right. So here's the thing: capturing people's attention elsewhere and directing them back to your podcast really does involve a mix of strategic content placement, engagement, and leveraging various platforms. And so we're going to just dive into the why, the who, and the how for each method. I have at least, well, I have like nine, but I may have to break this episode up into two if I feel like it's taking too long. Okay. So just lean in. All right. So let's start with number one. So the first one is social media teasers. Social media teasers. What 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 are those, right? So these are actually video snippets, like short, engaging clips from your podcast episodes on platforms like Instagram and TikTok and LinkedIn. And they include captions that really intrigue your viewers, or they should intrigue your viewers, and direct them to the full episode. Okay. That's what the social media teasers should do. So video snippets, and you may have like graphics, visually appealing graphics with quotes or just key takeaways from your podcast. Now, it should always include, of course, a call to action that leads back to your podcast. Okay. The thing that teasers will do, is it kind of creates curiosity and drives engagement that leads to increased podcast listeners. Okay. I do this all the time when I do my podcast. And what I do is it's always in the form of an episode alert. And so, and I post those, a clip it or snippet of it on the platforms where I know, like, I'm not on TikTok, right? And so, but other platforms for me that work for me are like LinkedIn and Facebook, but more even on the Instagram side. I'm starting to re-engage a little bit on the Instagram side of it. So this is ideal for reaching potential clients or potential listeners who are active on social media, but they may not be aware of your podcast. Because just because you have a podcast doesn't mean that people are going to know about it. You got to target these people. So what this does is it targets both your existing followers and new audiences through this shareable content. Okay. So that is number one. Number two, guest appearances. Guest appearances. Um, Collaborate with other podcasters. I just mentioned that we just finished up in a podcast mastermind, and a lot of us have been collaborating with each other as far as appearing as a guest on each other's podcasts, right? And what that does is that allows you to tap into their audience and invite them to check out your podcast. Okay. And so you can do that. Some people, that's how they start out. And as a matter of fact, it's one of the things I recommend my clients will do is to leverage guest appearances and be on other people's podcasts, even before they launch theirs, if they haven't already launched their podcast, because that really, not only does that allow you, to tap into their audience, but it also gives you an opportunity to, especially if you are a novice, especially if you are a newbie or a beginner, it really does allow you the opportunity to kind of get used to the platform, right? Because a lot of people, when they're just starting out, they may not know what their topic is, they may not know, it's just a lot. There's a lot to learn, and I totally believe that if you are a podcaster, right, you should be listening at least to other people's podcasts. But again, it's also an opportunity to get and collaborate, to get on other people's podcasts, and and do some collaborations, right? So let me just say it this way, okay? So the collaboration is mainly what I want to talk about. So the collaboration in terms of podcasting would be more like another way to um, be a guest on podcasts, as well as webinars and live sessions. So this is still number two, and even though that may sound a little convoluted, just stick with me here. I think you'll get it. Okay, so I'm still talking about guest appearances. So the two ways you can do guest appearances. Let me just say it that way. Two ways you can do guest appearances, and again, I always recommend this to my clients as well, is to collaborate with other podcasters and appear as a guest on other podcasts, but also you can host or participate in webinars and live Q&A sessions on platforms like YouTube and Instagram Live and all that. And this is a very strategic part of collaborating with other podcasters, being a guest, also webinars and live sessions. So that's what I wanted. That's what I was trying to say. I said all of that, and I know that sounds like a word salad, but anyway. But so the point is, guest appearances will expose you to new audiences that's already engaged, right? They're already engaged with the podcast format, especially, being a guest on someone else's podcast. And so this method helps you to build authority and trust. Okay. And this is best for podcasters who's looking to expand their reach within their niche. Okay. Expand your reach within your niche. Oh, that's pretty good. Um, So that's number two. Let me move on. So number three would be content repurposing. Let me tell you, when I tell you that I am a repurposing queen, I am a repurposing queen. I love to repurpose. I have one piece of content that I repurpose into everything. Okay. Because just because you have created, or created an episode, doesn't mean that everybody is listening to the episode. You got to find other ways, right? So, writing a blog post, which blog posts and articles, which is not necessarily my jam, but it might be your jam, right? But it does help you to expand on the topics that you cover in your podcast, right? And then you can link the relevant podcast episode for readers who want to hear more. Now, the thing that I do is I incorporate this into my email newsletters. I include a summary of my latest episode, into my email newsletter letters with a direct link to the full episode. Or sometimes it's just no, it's always to the full episode, sorry. But here's the thing, repurposing content allows you to reach different segments of your audience and their preferred format. Some people would rather read it versus listening, right? And so this maximizes the value of your content by extending its reach. Okay. And so this is very, very suitable for podcasters who maintain a blog, email list, or social media presence, right? You can, if you're on LinkedIn, you can write an article and you can repurpose your content that way. Okay. And so that way you will target both new audiences and existing followers who prefer written content. Okay. So that was number three. Um, Number four, and I'm going to stop at number four here because I'll continue on with the remaining steps. Like I said, I have nine, and so we'll just do that in the upcoming episode. Okay, but here's number four. Number four is SEO and blogging. And I just talked about blogging, but I didn't talk about SEO or search optimized content. So you want to create blog posts, guest articles, and Quora answers that are optimized for SEO and cover the topics from your podcast, right? And then you can do that. You can embed a link, to your podcast episode within the content, right? But the key here is search optimized content. These are blog posts and guest articles that answers questions. Um, these type of blog posts or these type of articles are SEO or search optimized because you're covering topics in your podcast that people are actually looking for, which you should be doing anyway. Okay. And so the other thing is transcribing your podcast, your episodes, right? For your website. This not only helps SEO, but it also caters to those who prefer reading. Okay. But it's got to be optimized. It should be optimized. And this helps you to optimize it, especially when you do it the way that we're talking about here. SEO driven content helps you to capture search traffic from users who are looking for answers to those solutions. Like when you respond to an answer in like the Quora, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, then that is a medium that's already optimized because people go there in the first place, right? They go there searching for certain answers. And so that helps to drive traffic when you use particular um, strategy for optimizing your podcast and getting them back to your podcast. And this really can continually drive traffic to your podcast episodes. And this is ideal for podcasters with a strong blogging presence, right? Now, I don't have a strong blogging presence, but I do repurpose my content. And so into, like I said, the different mediums. And so, but this is definitely something if you have a strong blogging presence and you're looking to improve your online discoverability, okay, because it targets active users who are searching for content related to your topic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stop here. Like I said, I have nine strategies, and we're going to continue in on the next episode. So we've talked about social media teasers, we've talked about guest appearances, we talked about content repurposing, and we talked about SEO blogging. And I totally believe that when you strategically place your content, or by strategically placing your content, engaging with your target audience across the different platforms and providing value up front, you can effectively direct people back to your podcast. So here's my question for you. What strategy resonates with you? What are you going to do with whatever resonated with you? Which one are you going to use, and how are you going to actually move forward in terms of your podcasting and getting your podcast out the into the uh, places where your target audience is and those who are interested in your content? How are you going to do that? Okay. So I hope this episode has been helpful for you. If you're interested in closing the gap between where you are and where you want to go and how to fill in that gap, then please book a success strategy call with me where I will share options available at that time. And if it makes sense for us to work together, we'll discuss how to move forward. All you have to do is go to bit.ly pod launch strategy. Okay. bit.ly /pod launch strategy. I always like to end with a scripture. And so today's scripture is Romans 12 4 through 5. This is the New International Version. And it says, "For just as each of us has one body with many members, and these members do not all have the same function, so in Christ we, though many, form one body, and each member belongs to all the others." Well, thank you so much for joining me. I hope this has inspired you in your podcasting journey. Until next time, stay organized and happy podcasting.